You watched videos like this one before. You've taken notes, saved them somewhere, maybe even made a plan. But you're still here, still not doing the thing you know you should be doing. You're here because there's something missing. Let me describe what's probably happening. You have an idea you want to execute, a business. Maybe you want to start YouTube, or you want to begin wipe coding an application. You just want to take the next step to do something that matters to you. And most likely, you know what you need to do really, at least in theory. You've consumed enough content to understand the steps. But when you sit down to actually do it, you don't. You find things to distract you, but still feel like you've achieved something. So what do? Instead, you research a little more. You refine your plan. You bookmark another tutorial for later. You reorganize your notes. You tell yourself you're preparing. And then a week passes, a month, then 6 months maybe. You look back and realize you've been circling the same spot the entire time, moving, but not forward. And the worst part isn't a waste of time. It's what you start to believe about yourself, that you're lazy, that you lack discipline, that maybe you're just not the kind of person who finishes things. But here's what none of those other videos tell you. The advice you've been following wasn't designed for someone in your situation. Think about who makes most of the content about productivity and creativity. Full-time creators, people with teams, people who already broke through years ago and forgot what it was like to start. When they tell you to post every day, to stay consistent, to build systems, habits, and morning routines, they are describing what works for them in their life, with their resources, with their time. They disregard the fact how they started. You have a different life. You have a job that takes most of your energy, maybe a family that needs you present, hours that are already spoken for before you even think about building something for yourself. And when you try to follow advice built for someone with completely different constraints, you fail. Not because you're weak, because the advice doesn't fit you. I've spent 20 years in technology and consulting. I've watched hundreds of smart, capable people get stuck in exactly this loop. People who disciplined in their careers. People who execute at high levels professionally. But when it comes to building something for themselves, they freeze. And it's almost never a character problem. It's almost always an advice mismatch. You're not failing at the game. You've been following a playbook written for a different game entirely. If this is not laziness, what is it? It's overthinking, but not the kind you can just stop doing. The overthinking that keeps you stuck is disguised as responsibility. It feels like diligence. It feels like preparation. You tell yourself you need to research more before you start. You need the right tools, the right conditions, a clearer plan. But what you're actually doing is avoiding discomfort of beginning, because beginning means risking failure. It means finding out that you're not as good as you hoped. It means putting something into the world before you're ready, so you stay in preparation mode where it's safe, where you can't fail because you haven't really tried. I know this because I've done it and I still struggle with it. It's something that you need to keep reminding yourself and keep practicing to get over it. It's not something that you can just do once and be done with it. It's a mindset you need to get accustomed to. Here's what I had to learn the hard way. Clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You're waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting for certainty, but certainty doesn't arrive before you start, because readiness is a decision, not a feeling. It only shows up after. The video you're trying to make, you won't know if it works until you make it. And you're probably gonna need to make many videos to make it work. The business you keep planning, you won't know if it's viable until you test it multiple times. The plan you've been rewriting maybe 10 times, version 11 won't be meaningfully better than version 4. At some point, more thinking doesn't produce better outcomes. It just delays the moment when you find out what actually works. And only way to find out what works is to do something and see what happens. This isn't motivational advice. It's just how reality operates. The map is not the territory. The plan is not the work. Thinking about building is not building. You already know enough to begin. The question is whether you're willing to begin before you feel ready. So, what does this actually look like in practice? I want to share 3 ways to think about this differently. a different relationship with the work itself. These help me go from 5 hours and multiple takes for one video to being done in 30 minutes. The first thing to reconsider is your standards, or what counts as good enough. Most people who struggle to start have excellent taste. They know what quality looks like. They've consumed enough great work to recognize the difference between amateur and professional. And that's exactly what paralyzes them, because when you sit down to create, there is a gap between what you can see in your mind and what you can actually produce. Between your taste and your current ability, that gap hurts. So you avoid it. The only way to close that gap is to make a lot of work that doesn't meet your standards. A chef doesn't start their career cooking for critics. They start by burning eggs, making terrible sauces, plating dishes that look nothing like the pictures, and they do that hundreds of times before they get good. You're trying to cook a 5-course meal when you haven't cracked an egg yet. The goal isn't to make something great. The goal is to make something finished. Lower the bar, deliberately. Not because you don't care about quality, but because you understand that quantity comes first. Quality emerges from repetition, not from planning or preparation. That's why I'm done in 30 minutes now instead of 5 hours to shoot a video. Not because I became more talented, because I stopped demanding perfection from something that just needed to exist. The second thing to reconsider is the size of what you're trying to do. Big projects create paralysis. When you look at the whole mountain, your brain calculates the effort required and decides it's too much, so it shuts down. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's your mind protecting you from what it perceives as an overwhelming task. The solution isn't more motivation. It's a smaller task. Don't think about the project. Think about the smallest version that still counts. You're not building a business. You're finding one person who has a problem you can solve. Not a website, not a funnel, not a content strategy. Just one person, one conversation. Describe what you'd build if they paid you. Help them get a result. Manually, inefficiently, for free if you have to. That's the seed. Everything else is scaling what already worked once. You're not committing to the whole mountain. You're committing to proving the seed works. What you'll notice is that the thing you avoided was harder in your imagination than in reality. It almost always is. Your mind inflated the difficulty to justify the avoidance. But once you've touched it, once you've actually done something, the inflation collapses. You see it for what it is, just work, not a thread. The videos in this channel exist because I started with one, not a content strategy, not an audience plan. One video, then another. That's it. The third thing to reconsider is the relationship between consuming and creating. Every hour spent watching half the videos is an hour not spent doing the work. And consuming feels productive. You're learning, you're gathering information, you're preparing. But at a certain point, you're not preparing anymore, you're hiding. Think about how much you've already consumed on this topic. The videos, the articles, the podcasts, maybe the courses you've purchased. You have more than enough information. What you don't have is the experience of doing. And that experience can only come from doing, not from watching someone else do it, not from reading about how it's done. The best tutorial is the thing you make and the feedback it gives you. Reality teaches faster than anything. So try this. No consumption until you've created something. Anything, a draft, a sketch, maybe a post. Something that exists in the world instead of just in your plans. And the feedback from it will inform you what you need to learn next. When you position building and creating before consuming, the dynamics change. You stop using information as a way to delay action. You start using it to solve specific problems you've already encountered. That's the difference between research and avoidance. Research solves a problem you have. Avoidance prevents you from discovering what problems you actually need to solve. I need you to see this for what it is. If nothing changes, another year passes, you'll be roughly in the same place, still thinking about the thing, still planning to start soon. The people who started when you were first thinking about starting, they'll be years ahead of you. Not because they're smarter or more talented, because they started. And the cost of that isn't just time. It's who you don't become, the work you don't make, the skills you don't develop, the audience you don't build, the version of yourself that only exists on the other side of the action. That version doesn't require perfection. It doesn't require the right conditions. It doesn't require feeling ready. It just requires for you to begin and be consistent. As we near the end of this video, here's what I ask you to consider. The advice you've been following isn't wrong. It's just designed for someone in a different situation. You don't need more information. You need to act on what you already know. Lower the standard, shrink the scope, create before you consume. And don't do this tomorrow. Don't add it to your list. After this video ends, take 15 minutes and make something, anything. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to exist. That's the whole thing. That's how it starts. I make videos that simplify building and creating, leveraging AI where possible. Subscribe down below so you don't miss out. See you on the next one.